Good Tuesday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you, Late Night McFiles. We've been coming on a little later than normal tonight. We was going to have a double feature, and our early guest sort of couldn't be with us tonight, and so we decided just to wait to come on a little later. And let me get my evening snack off my mouth. I should probably look in the mirror before I come on the show a little bit more than I do. My wife's going to kill me for that. But good to have my buddy Jeemes Akers on the line. He's always a weekly guest, and tonight was his night, and it's always a pleasure to have him. He was watching a minor league baseball game earlier tonight. But, man, it's good that you're up, and I'm glad you stayed up for us to always discuss some things. Got a lot to talk with you about tonight. It's good to see you. How are you, my friend?
Doing fine, Chris. Good talking to you.
Oh, it's good talking to you, man. And let me turn the volume up on the phone here and also the mic so they can hear you a little bit more. Listen, wanted to talk to you about the China trip tonight. You have done a lot of exclusive work and study about China and their threat to the United States, but Trump's going over there tonight to talk trade with them, looks like. It's going to be a week-long affair. What's Jeemes Akers' take on this, and do we have any earth-breaking news when he comes back? What do you think is going to happen over there? Do you think it's just going to be a love fest between him and Z, or is Trump going over there with a hammer?
I don't think he's going over there with a hammer, and even if he did, it wouldn't be quite as big a hammer as 3 or 4 weeks ago. So, you know, there have been a lot of things that have changed in Iran and other places, and so it's interesting the delegation he's taken with him, Musk and a lot of the titans of the cyber world and all of those things, and that's part of the delegation he's taken. You know, I was just talking to a friend of mine who's a loyal listener of yours, by the way, and we were talking about when I was in the military. I was a Chinese linguist years and years ago, and I was monitoring the Kissinger's flights into China and the ping pong diplomacy, and Nixon being the first president to go into communist China, and all of that in a way seems like yesterday. And here, all these many years later, Trump is going in. President Xi is pretty much I think most people would agree, in a really strong position these days. He has ousted a number of key players in the military. He's pretty much outmaneuvered anyone that would pose a threat, a long-term threat to him in terms of his control over the party apparatus. And so Trump's going over, you know, leaving a lot of political problems here at home and going over to try to get President Xi of China to to open up some trade and other things. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out of it, if much of anything.
That's right. I'm glad you mentioned Nixon. We actually talked about him last night, and James Richard Nixon has always gotten a very bad rap in the press and a lot of people's minds. All they think about when you hear Richard Nixon's name is Watergate, but people forget that he was the first United States president to open the door to China. He went to China, and I think it was a very rated trip. It was really undervalued at the time, and but looking back on history, it really put America and China on some kind of, at least at the beginning, before the Dems got a hold of the trade markets and allowed China to basically screw us over for 30 years. But he opened up a door that America's trade with China began, and he he basically confronted a lot of the things that 30 years ago people didn't see as being as an evil threat, but now we've got this threat in our backyard. And it's interesting that Donald Trump becomes only the second president now that he is basically doing the same thing. I think Trump is wise in going, and I'm with you. I don't know what's going to come of it. And I guess the ultimate question is, can you trust the Chinese? And I think most people in this audience tonight, and I know I feel this way, I don't trust the Chinese past the word China. I don't trust them past an egg roll. I'll just leave it at that. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting how the situation has changed from the early 70s. The main motivating factor and what brought actually Joe and Lai was the architect of it. But what brought China and the United States together was a common enemy, and that was the Soviet Union.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Back in those days. Well, the alliances have shifted and changed, and now Trump is trying to, through trade and other types of incentives, is trying really to drive a wedge between Putin's Russia and China. And if he pulls it off, it'll be another foreign policy feather in his cap. But I'm not sure he's going to be able to pull it off. China is no longer a second-tier country in terms of technology and what they are doing in this changing technological world. Plus, they have money, and it's just going to be interesting. That's why I was fascinated with the delegation that's going with Trump.
It's all economic. It's not military. It's not defense or anything like that. And as you said, Musk is in that group. So evidently there's not going to be a lot of hardcore talks. I heard tonight on one report before we came on. It's another reason I was hanging out before we came on late tonight. I wanted to get a little background on this because I know he was leaving today, and but it seems that Taiwan may be on the discussion list from Xi, whatever his name is. We Southerners, we can't pronounce the X's. When it says XI, to us that's XI. That's a joke. But anyway, I'm going to get I'll get a letter from Zhangping Z and say, learn how to pronounce my name, McDonald, if you're going to insult me. But anyway, how much do you think Taiwan enters into this? Because, that has been a long-going situation, really going back to Bush Jr., where Reagan, let me change that. Going back to Reagan, I remember sitting in my sophomore history class, and my old professor, Mr. Kendrick, was talking to us kids. That's way back in the 80s, my friend, of the basically defense quandary that Reagan was in. Because Reagan was campaigning on America would back Taiwan. Carter was saying, no, we'll back China. That war's been going back and forth for 40 years, buddy. And do you think that China will ever ultimately pull the trigger and try to invade that? Or do you think it's just bait and it's just one of those things that it's all blather and all public relations propaganda, that they deep down, even though Taiwan is their big, they can't claim it's their big campaign, that it's not even the size of Texas, buddy. I mean, when you get down to it, the island is not even the size of Texas.
Well, the Taiwan issue, the cross straits issue is really an interesting one from a foreign policy perspective. On the one hand, President Xi in China has made it a matter of public record. He has gone on record as saying, by during his period of governance in China, that Taiwan is going to come under Beijing's control. I mean, he's he has there's no secret about that. He has said that he has made it an objective of Beijing's foreign policy. So you have that, but balancing that are two things that have happened over the past several months, and in one case, several years. And that is the Russian invasion of the Ukraine, and it has changed. It has tilted the entire dynamic of war with drones and other things, so that traditional land forces, have become more targets than they have assets on the battlefield. And there has been a total revolution in warfare because of what has happened with Russia and the Ukraine. And then the second thing I would suggest is that when the United States went in to Venezuela and lifted a dictator out of there, which had been protected by the state of art Chinese weaponry, and we found a way to evade that and go in, and the Iranian air campaign has been a real wake up call for the Chinese as well, and so all of a sudden the Taiwanese issue. What seemed to 5 years ago to on paper to be an easy thing for China to digest would be an amphibious invasion of Taiwan. Now the planners in Beijing, their military planners, are looking at a worst case scenario instead of a best case scenario. Plus, those individuals that have been in charge of planning the Taiwanese invasion, many of them are in jail right now.
Yeah.
And so you have really a changing dynamic when it comes to Taiwan. And so it makes for an interesting picture and a future problem for Beijing.
Yeah.
That as time goes by, whereas 5 years ago we would have thought the time would have been on the side of China, doesn't look as much of a certainty anymore.
Well, we'll follow that story. I do want to ask you your thoughts on the breaking story tonight out of California. This mayor, and we're going to do that on the video feed tonight, show the picture of her. But her name is Eileen Wong. She's resigned today following charges. She's actually been indicted that she acted as a foreign agent on behalf of China, and she's agreed to plead guilty to this. James, how many of these agents do we have? We had Smallwell and Fang Fang. We've had Dianne Feinstein's driver, her limousine driver, acting as a China agent. We've had now this. In your opinion, is that one of the what kind of nation are we dealing with here that has got all these agents over here in America with friends like this? And I don't consider them a friend of America, but we sure do. Well, they have got a vicious string of people over here that is doing their bidding for them without firing a shot on us.
Yeah, well, I mean that game in the shadows. Occasionally, I'll write a missive about it, but there is a reality of a war that goes on in the shadows. It's an undeclared war. It runs by its own rules, and we are engaged in that sort of a conflict with China and Russia these days, and it's a sort of a tit for tat war where we're trying to do the same thing in several different areas, and so. But the full dimension of the Chinese presence especially a covert presence in this country, I'm not sure anybody has a real handle on.
Yeah, well, I don't think they do either. Anyway, interesting thing when we'll be following the trip this week, and we'll have a lot more to say about it Thursday night. Before I leave China, because we got a lot of other fish to fry tonight, in your humble opinion, I know the AI thing is probably at the top of the list. Do you see, maybe in our lifetime, a America-China war? I have heard so many foreign policy predictors, people that look at things like that and our future, or our nations, and I don't find too many of them that are optimistic that that cannot be avoided at some point in the future. Again, you write a lot about this nation, and you write a lot about the AI threat. But does China, are they going to pose a military threat to this nation if we don't? I think under Trump, I'm not worried about that so much. But future presidents that are coming may not be so diligent and vigilant on the military front like this one's been. And should we be concerned, if the Lord tarries any length of time, that we could be facing a military brush up with these people?
Well, if there are a couple books which anyone that's worth their salt in the Pentagon have read in the last 3 or 4 years, and one of them is 1934, and what it posits is a future war between China and the United States, and the opening round of that war is that China disables America's only true advantage, which was eyes in the sky, and so the satellites, and it's not our advantage there is not nearly as robust as it was at one time. But the scenario goes that China has come up with a weapon that disables the U.S. satellites, and that's the opening round of the war, and then it plays out across the Pacific, and a nuclear exchange, and this, that, and the other. It's a very interesting book. It was written by military insiders, and like I say, a lot of Pentagon planners and a lot of people in the Pentagon were very interested in the book. But my main point is that it saw a war happening in the mid 2030s.
Okay.
And I've seen several people that are in the prediction game, the intelligence prediction game, see a point of danger, a tipping point of sorts in U.S.-Sino relations that happens about that time frame.
Okay.
And so this is not all just empty sort of conjecture that goes on some websites or whatever. There's a lot of real planning that looks at that sort of a pivot point and how we're going to cope with it. And I've been involved in numerous war games that gamed out a war in the Pacific, a war over the Straits, and most of the time, the time frame involved with that is the mid to early 2030s, and that's not far away.
Not far away. I was about to say that's not far away at all. Shifting gears tonight a little bit, President Trump said yesterday that the ceasefire with Iran is on life support. The markets have been very, very unstable this week, up and down because of that. My dear friend Chris Allman, he's big in the stock market, and he's I don't have a lot invested in the stock market. I got a few things, but he tells me all the time. He says markets do not like war, and he said when there is a threat of war, the markets are going to respond. But it seems that a possible renewal of the military strikes may be on the horizon if Iran don't come to the table. Has this? I don't think it's caught you off guard, but do you think that it maybe has caught our own government that Iran has been a little bit more resistant to giving up that nuke program than they have been, or do you think this has been Trump's plan all along, that he's tried to give them a chance to do it and show them what we can do to them, and if they don't do it, then he's just going to blow them into smithereens? Because I don't think he's playing with them. I just don't. I think that Trump is not like Joe Biden. He's not like any president we've ever had. Trump's Trump, and I don't think that they don't. I don't think they want to mess with Donald Trump on this.
Well, there's that argument, and it's a powerful argument, and then there are some arguments on the other side that there have been several miscalculations in terms of what Trump was trying to pursue over there. He certainly underestimated the resolve of the Iranians, and as we have talked about many times, nobody in Washington seems to fully grasp the powerful hold that the Shia apocalyptic mindset has in terms of Tehran's strategy, and Trump's coming sort of to grips with a lot of those things. There was also a miscalculation, I think, of the Americans thought that the Kurds would be more actively involved, and they have been. There was certainly a hope that there would be an uprising among the populace in Iran. That hasn't happened, and the reason that it hasn't happened is because probably 30 to 40,000 people were either killed or in jail.
42,000 have been killed by the regime since the first of the year.
And so that literally cut the ground out of a thought that there would be a popular resistance to any sort of government. You have the IRGC, which has emerged to take over a key role, and we thought more elements in the military that would be more favorable to arranging ceasefires. You have a confusion of leadership in Iran, and so it's a mixed bag of things that Trump is facing in Iran. You have even sort of a distancing now between the Israeli leadership and the White House these days in terms of strategy and policy in Iran, and you have a real danger point in Israel with this military draft law that now hits some of these Orthodox communities in Israel, and the government may be on shaky footing there in the months ahead. So when it comes to the Middle East, we have never understood the rules of the dance all that well over there, and there are factors that come into play other than pure projection of power. And so we're starting to see sort of the limits of that. And then you have this fascinating development with UAE and the Saudis.
Yes, talked about that last night. Yes,
are at odds, and so there are so many changing dynamics that are going on right now in the Middle East, and I'm not sure Solomon could figure out the full ins and outs of everything that is going on there.
Not going to disagree on that.
And I tell you, it's a tough area for Trump. I think that a backroom discussion on his trip to China is going to be a sort of a feeling out process. Trump seeing if China can use its weight and influence in Iran to help out any, and so this world is not a place for the faint-hearted these days when it comes to foreign policy, and You know, my position going in is always, you know, my goodness, can you imagine this world if Kamala Harris had been president right
No, I
now?
cannot. No, I
You
cannot.
know, and so that's my starting point, and I'm telling you, the Middle East, and we're not at the end of this road. We're only at the beginning. There's a lot of ways this whole thing can play out yet.
Well, let me just say this: a couple of things. You said a lot there, and I'll just unwrap a few of them. With the situation, Pakistan tonight has basically told Iran that they can keep their airplanes in Pakistan, so when the Americans come to bomb them, they won't find them. That's a lovely friend that we've got, and I've got some dear family members in Pakistan. I got a missionary son over there that I love dearly, but their government is not a fair player in this. And the thing is that James, I guess, and I'll let you chime in on this, and we'll move on to some domestic issues, and I'll let you go. But the thing is that we need to realize is that I'm all in, to be frank with you, on this Iran effort by Trump to rid this Middle East of this influence if he can. Nobody has confronted this evil in 47 years. Nobody. And nobody will for the next 47 if Trump don't do it. He's the only one that's got the gravitas to do it. And, I'm willing to experience some short-term pain. I know a lot in the country are not. There's a lot of complaining. I see it online. I see people griping about this, griping about that, griping about prices, gas, groceries, everything, and everything's just terrible. And we're trying to face down an enemy that could make things a million times worse. And I will tell you this: um, I, I'm all in with what Trump's doing. And I guess my question to you is, let's just take the logistical nightmare away of what he's facing to have to deal with over there. I get it. I get the challenges. But are you on board in principle, though, that we're trying to confront an enemy that would destroy Israel in a heartbeat if they could? And we cannot give them pallets of cash and think that they're going to say, we'll take the cash in exchange for a promise we're not going to produce a nuclear weapon. When, James, they've done more harm with these terror proxies than any nuclear bomb would have ever done in the Middle East, because these Houthis and Hamas and Hezbollah has had the blood of tens of thousands of people on their hands over the course of these 47 years, and these proxies have done probably just as bad, if not worse, than what a singular nuclear blast would do. And I'm not lessening the severity of that, but I'm all in with this. And I just believe that Trump has got to do it. He's got to at least try, because there won't be nobody after him that will do it. What's your thoughts on that? We'll move on to something else.
No, I agree that something had to be done about the Iranian situation. They cannot obtain a nuclear weapon because of all the peoples that have a nuclear weapon, they would use it against Israel, number one, and number two, if they could, against us. And so I'm perhaps not the all-in that you are, but it had to be done, and every president always kicked it down the road. Only Trump had the wherewithal and the resolve to try to address the issue. Period. And that, to me, that's the end of the story. Everybody else talked about it, left it for somebody to take the unpopular decisions that had to be made with all the political risk entailed, and I think Trump is to be congratulated for that. Where I think the danger lies in is that we have bumped up against the limits of air power in terms of the use of tactical air power, and that what I am afraid of, that I've said on your program on other occasions, is that what we are seeing because of the political blowback may be the last time in our lifetime that a president's going to be able to exercise the autonomy to act against a clear and present danger like this.
Well, I hope I'm pulling for him. And again, I just admonish our audience that I'm going to talk to them more directly here in a minute. But I think that it's a noble effort. And I know there's a lot of pitfalls, and this may not work. And I hope it don't end in failure. I know that there's not a lot of high. I put it like this: this is one of those high risk bets. If you were betting at a casino table, I think that the odds against it succeeding are higher than it to succeed, but it's worth the risk, and I'll leave it at that. I want to ask you something. I don't know if you heard this story tonight. Next time we have you on, we'll discuss it more because I think it's just developing tonight. Heard tonight that North Korea is about to issue a new constitution. this is one of those you can't make this stuff up moments. But in the Constitution, they're literally going to put in there that if Kim Jong-un is killed or he dies, that they are to automatically launch nuclear weapons at their enemies. And Jeemes, that sort of involves America because I guess we would be considered enemy number one. And but that's the North Koreans. And while we're concentrating on China, while we're concentrating on Iran, we can't forget the danger that rests on that North Korean peninsula. And he is just as dangerous tonight as he was way back in the Clinton years, his daddy and him. And but do you think that these North Koreans would be that stupid to actually do something like that? Or are they just like the Iranians? A death cult.
Well, they do resemble the Iranians in terms of there is a death cult involved. One of the most chilling things I have ever seen was a video that was sneaked out of North Korea that at a certain time of day that everybody just came to a halt to recognize the leader, and it was as if everything was just frozen. Everybody was afraid to do anything other than just toe the line, and you had an entire city that was just. It was almost like in a state of suspended animation because of the dictate of the leader. It was absolutely frightening,
Right.
In the control that was exercised, and so the length to which the leaders, the North Korean leadership will go, and the sacrifices they would demand of their people. I don't think we have any way to plumb the depths of what's involved with all of that.
Okay.
And they are acquiring a military capability. I don't know if you saw the article about a nuclear ship that they've that now that they've got, and so that's another country that would in a second, if they could, no matter what it would cost their own people, would attack the United States. Number one would be South Korea, and then Japan and the United States following closely behind. It is so scary that it also, and this is another item which the press will never report on, but I guarantee you will be a part of the background discussion in Beijing.
I would think so too.
because we have one thing we do have in common with the Chinese is that neither one of us trusts the North
No,
Koreans.
there is a tension between China and North Korea, but I think in many ways it's the same thing in the Middle East. The enemy of my friend is my friend, or how do they say that? If you're the enemy of my enemy, that makes you my friend. I think that goes a long way in all parts of the world, to be frank with you, when it comes to America, and especially right now with Donald Trump. Let me bring you back down to domestic issues, and I won't keep you much longer. It's grateful to have you tonight on this Tuesday night, as always. We have seen this gerrymandering fight head to the Supreme Court, and they have pretty much slapped down every Democrat effort to gerrymander these districts by race. We had 5 Rhino senators in the South Carolina State House tonight, Republicans, block the efforts of South Carolina that would have basically ended James Clyburn's career. They decided not to do it. My home state of Georgia, we got a Rhino governor and a crooked Secretary of State that needs to be in jail, I think, for voter fraud and election fraud, I should say, in 2020. Jeemes, if it wasn't for the Rhino Republicans, I believe that we could pick up anywhere from 15 to 25 seats in the midterms because of these redrawn maps. People have got to get out and vote. But why is it that these maps were ever drawn to begin with according to race? Am I wrong in saying that the maps are to be drawn by population? It should not be specially gerrymandered and drawn just to appease a race. And it's nothing personal against the African American community, but it would be the same thing if you drew them according to whites. And look, if more white people live in an area than blacks, that's just the way the population rolls out, and that just makes it important that if you want to have a voice in Congress, put up a black candidate, put up somebody you want to run, and have the people decide if that's the right candidate for the job. That's just common sense, is it not?
Yeah, the whole gerrymandering thing, and you are much more in tune with what is going on in that world than I am, because I just think it's absolutely ridiculous, all these court fights and this, that, and the other. The whole idea of engineering things to give one race an advantage over the other, to me is just absolutely ridiculous. And from a black perspective, in 10 years, they're going to be on the losing end of this entire argument when the Hispanics start to feel their own clout and start to gerrymander districts to the advantage of Hispanics.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so it is short-sighted to me. For all of these things to take place, because in another decade, all of those arguments you're using now are going to be worked against you, and so to me, I get frustrated with it. The amount of energy that's gone into this, the amount of vitriol that's generated by it, and I read something many years ago, and the essence of it was what happens in the future when the whites, Caucasians in the United States become the minority. Will they, as a minority, receive the same sort of respect and rights that they have granted to other minorities when they were in control?
No, I can answer that for you. No, they won't.
And we saw a case of that. I think that happened in South Africa.
Correct.
And so again, the race card, which seems now to be so productive to play, will absolutely work against the same players in a decade, and that nobody can see that because they have their own vested political interests in pushing this narrative or that narrative right now. Is going to be self-defeating for their own children, and so that's where I stand on it. And it's more of a philosophic stand than other things. I get the argument that in particular minorities have been disadvantaged for so long that this is the only way to tilt things back. But the argument used to be an equality-based argument rather than a preference argument. And we have slipped over into a preference argument. We no longer expect kids of a certain race to perform well on standardized tests, for instance.
Very true.
So we change the standardized tests. We change all the rules. When
we do.
When going in, the idea was to lift them up by their bootstraps, and as an equality argument, make the playing table an equality playing table and equip them to compete on an equal basis. Nobody talks that way anymore.
No, they don't.
It's more, we need to change. We need to change boundaries. We need to change rules. We need to change things. And it's really at heart is that we have a large segment of the population, it seems to me, that has bought into this whole idea that you need to create a class that has historically exercised control over another class, rather than it be a case of individual equality. And I'm telling you, that stuff's killing us. That's Jeemes Akers' view of it.
No, I'm with you, and I'll just add something to that, Jeemes. And I'm going to say this, and it's not a disagreement what you're saying about the minorities, and we'll just address the African American community first, and I'll address the Hispanics. It's always been the argument of the left that there is systemic racism in this country, and I vehemently disagree with that. There is not systemic. There are racists that exist in this nation, but I'm going to say this about the racist. They're both black and white. There's just as many racist blacks that cannot stand the sight of a white person and call that, if we're, the white man works, or the white person is conservative and there's money, well, they're privileged. They've been given privilege. That's why they're rich. That's why they're blessed. No, they're blessed and they're rich likely because they were diligent and worked for a living and didn't have their life handed to them. They went out and made something for themselves. And that works both ways, James. There's some African Americans that have made well for themselves because they were diligent and they were vigilant in their life. They took responsibility and they made something to themselves. They didn't wait for a handout. And that goes on in both communities, whites and blacks. Hispanics, same way. It's not a color issue. It's a hard issue. But to say that America has been systemically racist against blacks or systemically racist, and they use this argument to call for open borders, open migration. You talked about the test scores. In other words, we lower the standard for our children so we can appease a certain group. It's the same reason these districts politically have been gerrymandered and drawn up for decades to try to appease people, to make sure we don't appear that we're giving the white people an advantage. That's crap. And that needs to stop because it's going to be the destruction of this country. It's racial division. James, you and I are faith people. I'm going to go ahead and be a preacher for a minute. I do not know one single truly saved individual, truly born again person that knows Jesus, that has a racial bone in their body. I don't. Because the love of Jesus compels us to love all men, no matter what their race is. And we're to speak the truth in love to all people. And even our justice system, what is around that lady? I'm on my soapbox tonight. I hope this is a good one. What's around that lady's eyes, that lady of justice that we see, that symbol of justice? What's around her eyes? It's a blindfold. Justice has no color. It's colorblind. And that's how we should always be. It's about people's hearts and what they do. It ain't about the race of their skin. And if people want to take a few individuals, and I think it's few, that have racially, and look at the anti-Semitism. If there's anybody that could argue systemic, discrimination, look at what's going on with the Jewish people for the last year, 2 years, since October the 7th. And there's been such an outcry, and there are people that ignore that and then will just make it just everything is about race, 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 race. And we're losing our country over it, brother. Because again, you can't change the going back to the test scores. Why do you lower the standards? Because some people study. It's like a class. I've substituted before in classes, and I've taught, and I've seen kids in that classroom, and there are 90% of the kids will work hard, do their homework, do the assignment. There's always 10% of them, they don't care. They don't care what you do to them. They're not going to work. So what we're telling society, what we're telling the 90% that do work is what you do is not important. We've got to lower the standard for the 10. That's wrong, my friend. That's wrong. And that's my 2 cents on that tonight. What's your thoughts on that? And we'll go to something else real quick and let you go.
No, I agree with you, Chris. The problem is that Jesus Christ holds individuals accountable.
Correct.
And that is the whole basis of our legal system and everything else. The individual matters. What they decide to do, their decision regarding right or wrong in this society, it matters. And there's that individual prism that we as faith people hold dear. What we are seeing now is that there is an insidious thought strain that is worming its way into the body politic.
Correct.
That it is an oppressor class.
Come on.
That gives an advantage to a certain group of people. And we're getting away from evaluating things based on a person's response to providing an excuse. The reason person X, don't succeed is because there is an oppressor class that keeps me from gaining my rightful position in this society. No, it's individual initiative. It is the status of a human heart. That is going to be the final judgment at the end, is how I as an individual treat other individuals. Jesus Christ is absolutely colorblind.
Yes.
The way I treat other individuals as a human being, as a person, is what counts. Not if I have membership in an oppressor class. That is not going to factor in the final judgment at all. It's going to be how I, as an individual, the condition of my heart, how I treated other people. Those are the things that matter. That was the beginning of this country all the way up through. It's the basis of law that an individual counts.
Come on, buddy. Come on.
And not my membership in a class that counts. Not my religion, actually.
Come on, buddy.
That counts. It is my response to the Lord of this universe as an individual that counts. And that's going to be the basis of the judgment that separates me from eternity.
Without a doubt.
And we are so getting away from that. And the truth of it is, it's giving a lot of people an excuse not to succeed in this life. They have a sort of a bailout device. They just blame a class for their own lack of success. No, it's my initiative as an individual. It's the status of my heart as an individual that counts for time and eternity. Well, I have got off on a soapbox.
No. I want to add something to what you're just saying. Is that not what communism does too? That's how the communists take over nations. They try to convince the people that the oppressors are the rich, that the oppressors are the capitalists, that if we can remove the power of the business owners, take the wealth away from the rich, give it to the poor, that the poor will be better off, without hiding the fact, without revealing the fact that that's the destruction of all society. Well, James, it's the same argument by the woke left and the woke right. When it comes to race, they tell the black community, and I blame their leaders for this, people like Jackson and Sharpton, and they demonize whites, they demonize power, they demonize authority. And I'll use Memphis, Tennessee tonight as a great example. You have got black representatives calling for the insurrection and a civil war in this country because a district is being redrawn in Tennessee because of the past gerrymandering issues to keep Steve Cohen, an old white man, in power over a predominantly black district for 36 years. Well, they have demonized the government so much and the authority that they don't tell the people that they're screaming and acting the fool over, that the lady that's going to be over them when these lines are redrawn is going to be a black Republican. Even though she's a female, she's a black Republican, but she's black over a black district. But that's not okay with them. That is the mentality when you start looking at race and start saying things of this nature. It's always an affront to authority, brother. And that's what communism does and fascism does. Is that correct? Real quick.
Yeah, real quick. In fact, I just wrote a missive about people that were disenfranchised completely by the Bolshevik takeover in 1917, and that's exactly what they did. The emphasis was on they had to get rid of anyone that was a part of the quote unquote oppressor class.
Without a doubt.
And it launched. The end result was one of the largest waves of human migration in history, and it all came about at a time which I love to teach about, which was World War I and the disruption that was caused. And the Bolshevik rulers in Russia, Lenin and the others, capitalized on the defeat of Russia, promised everything, could deliver nothing, promised everything, and completely convince the people that if we could just get rid of this oppressive class that has ruled over you for years and years and decades, and in fact, centuries, then we will be able to create a man-made heaven on earth.
That's the message of communism, Jeemes. That's exactly the Dems message, is it not? That's what we're hearing them say. That's exactly what the left is saying.
It's the message you can. It is the same message that we're hearing today. You're absolutely right, but nobody studies history anymore. And so our kids don't even have to take history in college anymore. They don't have any idea of how bankrupt these ideas were in the past, and they take to the streets demonstrating and parroting these same ideas that time and time again have resulted in disaster and failure.
Without a doubt. And they will for the future too, buddy. They will always end in failure.
That's exactly right. But if anybody wants to read sort of my logic on that and my sympathy for this group that were chased out and became emigres spread all over Europe, you can go to JeemesAkers.com and load up my latest missive. That's JeemeS. Akers, all one word, .com, and you'll find a list of my missives there, and there'll be missives on several topics. But the last one is about the Russian emigres that were forced out of Russia after the Bolsheviks took power.
All right. Quick fire question, because I've kept you an hour already. I didn't mean to keep you this long, but it's been good stuff. Good discussion tonight. Quick fire question. How strong a case does the government? You can answer this in a 1 to 10, 10 being the most likely, 1 being the least likely. Scale of 1 to 10, with Comey being in a different district and the possibility existing of another indictment coming down. I'm understanding from sources that it's not about the shells. I know people are making it about the shells. It's not about the shells. Do you think he gets re-indicted again? Does he get convicted?
These people have a way of protecting their own. I don't think that he's going to be indicted or convicted.
Okay, fair enough. Other question. You're in the intelligence field. For our guest, for people that don't know Jeemes, he's a former CIA analyst. We've got some new folks in the house tonight. But you deal with intelligence. Have you been appalled at the number of senators and people in D.C. that have been releasing top secret documents to the media that should not be discussed? Hexteth went off on Murphy today and up on the Hill, and we're going to talk about that more maybe Thursday night. But Jeemes, why does these senators think that they can just run their trap? They need to be indicted. They need to be indicted for this stuff. That's criminal, is it not? If you, as a CIA analysis, release stuff that was top secret about the government to a source, you would be indicted and hauled off to jail for treason.
Yes, I would be and should be.
And should be, yes.
That's my take on it. There is no excuse for these people that have been read into a classified information compartment and receive security briefings outlining the penalties for illegal release of this information on any thing but a need-to-know basis, verified by the releasers of the information. They should not be doing what they're doing, and there should be penalties. There should be an accountability in our system for people that deliberately leak information for personal or political advantage.
Without a doubt. No, hands down.
And it is absolutely missing from our system. There is no way to enforce it on some of these people. You won't be able to find but a handful of jurisdictions in this country that'll enforce those types of penalties, and it is the very framework of the classified nature of information that there be a reasonable restraint by people having access to that information, and they cannot willy-nilly, for personal or political advantage, use that information. And if they do, they ought to go to jail.
Without a doubt.
Period.
Final question. Famous last words, but this is your final one. Report out tonight. Fox News is reporting, and we're going to play the video after we let you go, that it was not Merrick Garland that made the decision, as he falsely claimed and lied about it, to go into Mar-a-Lago and do the raid on Trump right before the 24 election. That came from Joe Biden himself. That is what secret FBI emails are showing, and what they've found in their investigation, that Merrick Garland had no say in what was about to happen, that it was Joe Biden that issued that directive. Is that not illegal, that a sitting president orders a raid on a former president that ultimately, at the start, was going to be his political opponent? Jeemes, I'm just a South Georgia boy. Is that not what they indicted Trump for when he called Zelensky and tried to get them to prosecute Bo Biden, or not Bo, but the Biden boy, Hunter? And they impeached him on that, tried to. And then you got Joe Biden sending the people down to raid Mar-a-Lago. Should there not be some criminal investigation into that? I mean, I know that and I'm going to say this, I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to say it. I look at Joe Biden, and, we're being told, and, he's just an old man, and his mind is not always there. Well, I tell you what, when he gets out on that speaking thing, he sure does trash the country pretty good to be so senile. He's got a lot of left in the tank to trash Trump and trash our government and trash the forces that be. I don't think he's as senile as he's acting. You need to put his sorry back in jail. That's what we need to do if he did that. That's my take on that. I'll let you wrap us up on that.
Yeah, that's a tough area. Period.
Yeah.
Because when the worm turns, we're going to want the same sort of protections for the person that's in office right now.
I'll agree. I'm not going to disagree with that.
And so, there used to be sort of a recognition in this country before politics became a zero-sum game. And when one party wins, everything's dumped on the other party, and vice versa. There used to be sort of rules, unspoken rules. There were things that you should or shouldn't do. If you got defeated in an election, you left town gracefully, acknowledged the other person won the election. You left town, and you didn't use every means at your disposal to try to whittle the ground out from under the person that become the new president. Those rules completely changed, and so we're in the midst of everybody trying to figure out all the new rules. You have an entrenched bureaucracy that absolutely did not want to abide by the will of the people and a person that was elected president, and they tried everything they could to undermine that person.
However, well, let me just say it like this. And I know I'm no fan of Bush Jr., but for the most part, I mean, he'll say something every now and then, and even Bill Clinton. I've heard him say some somewhat positive things about Trump, not anything to glow, but he's not been on a campaign of destruction. But Biden and Obama both, Joe Biden and Barack Obama, I believe, have committed Logan Act offenses. Obama going to foreign dignitaries in foreign countries and undermining the government is a violation of the Logan Act, and I do not understand if Patel is worth his salt. Barack Obama needs to be in that cell sitting beside Joe Biden. That's just my opinion, and maybe we'll talk about the Logan Act next time you're on the show and talk about this because I'm with you to a degree about we don't need to be tit for tat. But it just seems that when Bush Jr. got out of office, he did not criticize Barack Obama at all during the 8 years of Obama, hardly at all. And he only started running his trap when his brother Jeb got basically beat down by Trump. But he's really not said a lot this second term. But he's one of the few ex-presidents that kept their mouth shut. Carter did this, and it was nauseating to listen to Jimmy Carter tear down the current president that was not Democrat. And Kamala Harris is out there doing it. And you're right, James. It's just courtesy. It's just diplomacy. It's being a class act and being somebody with class and character instead of being a scumbag piece of garbage like we've got in Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden. And my mama, if she was listening, would rise up out of her grave and tell me, "Wash your mouth out with soap. Don't call them garbage." But she's not. She's not here tonight to do that. So I'm gonna let it all hang out with you, Akers. That's all I got to say, man. Hey, good stuff tonight. I'm gonna let you go. God bless you. I'm gonna see you soon. And it's always a pleasure, man. Good discussion tonight. I really appreciate you being with me. JeemesAkers.com. Any 1 minute final thought? What you got, man? Final thought.
Yeah, Chris, I get it, and I understand what you're saying, but I'm telling you, one of the casualties in our culture and our society is a complete loss of civility.
Without a doubt.
I mean, you can trail a group of young girls walking down the street, and they find nothing wrong with using language that used to make a sailor blush.
Correct.
We have completely lost in this country any sense of civility, any sense of putting my personal narrative and agenda second, and what's good for the country first. That this country has just lost that, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure how we regain that. And to me, that's the issue. I mean, you used to watch on TV and people would present information. Now it's all narrative and spin. It's and podcasts are exactly the same way, and the social media, and everybody's screaming and nobody's talking anymore.
That's a good point, James. That's a good point.
And Chris, going back to that whole idea of we are accountable as individuals, and what I say matters not because I can create a narrative and spin around it, but because I'm accountable to my Lord for how I behave, how I act, and how I talk, and the same way in politics. I cannot blame an oppressor class for everything that goes wrong in my life. At some point, I have to say I take responsibility for what is in my world. And the same with you. You take responsibility for what is said and the guests you have and all of those things. And we need to get back to personal accountability for wrongdoing. And the courts need to go back to that basic premise of making decisions based on justice and what is right, rather than what is politically convenient for the moment.
Without a doubt, buddy. Without a doubt. It's good stuff.
And we need to get there as a culture and a society. I don't have to surround myself with people that agree with me on everything. I have to be consistent in what I say and what I think, because I'm accountable at the end of the day to the Lord that created me and has so blessed me with so many things and so many friends and the most wonderful country in the world. I mean, I complain about it and this, that, and the other, and I love traveling abroad. And one of the reasons I love traveling abroad is because when I come home with all of its warts and its problems, this is still the best country in the world. And I need to conduct myself that way. And so, we have a president that's doing the best he can. He's making some decisions that are really tough, and we need to pray for him.
So well said, buddy.
And the scripture says we need to pray for all of those that are in authority over us. And we need to pray for a sacredness of authority. We live in where kids are being taught in class how to defy authority rather than pray for it and live within its boundaries. And I know that's a mouthful.
No.
And I know
that
may be some pie in the sky, a spiritual sort of view, but either I live that or I don't.
Buddy, that's a lot of wisdom. I don't think it's pie in the sky a bit, and I don't think our audience does either. I'll tell them to put some fire in the house if y'all agree with that. I'm totally on board with that, and I think that we would be all wise to take that advice tonight. And I think that I think one of the most frustrating things that I see is people that proclaim faith that act like the world, Jeemes, and actually act worse than even the worst of heathen out there. And they don't respect authority. They don't respect President Trump. They don't respect the job he's doing. And yet when evil leaders are in there, they're just as quiet and silent in the face of that. And I'm not questioning people's soul or salvation. That's not my job. But I tell you what, the fruit of the tree is the fruit of the tree. And if it's an evil tree, it's going to produce evil fruit. And if you stand silent in the face of evil and then criticize good for being evil, that's apostasy, my friend. That's just plain out apostasy. And you can claim you saved all you want to, but the fruit's in the pudding. And the fruit, many times, is what's coming out of our mouth. And that's a message in another soapbox for another night. I'm going to let you go, man. And God bless you. JeemesAkers.com. And I'll see you soon, my friend. Thank you for being with me tonight, as always.
It's been a pleasure, Chris. It always is. I so appreciate the fact that you even honor what I say, or that means a lot to me. I want you to know that.
Well, we want to thank Brad Johnson for introducing us. Now, if you're friends with Brad Johnson, I was sort of iffy about you. That on that basis alone, I was sort of you were hanging in the balance there, Akers, until I got to know you. But other than that, the Johnson connection, you've been a swell guy, and you're a good baseball buddy, because I've enjoyed seeing the baseball game with you a few years ago. We're going to go back this year. We're going to get up there early and have us a hot dog and talk. We'll fix the world at Red Stadium when we get up there. Okay.
There's nothing like solving all the problems of the universe over a dog at the ballpark.
Amen to that. I'll amen that, buddy. God bless you. Get some rest now. Have a good night.
Okay.
Take care,
Blessings.
Jeemes.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Jeemes Akers, everybody. Put some fire in that house. He's a good guy. He is one of the good guys. He's fought for this country. Him and Brad Johnson both. I give Brad a lot of jazz, but I respect Brad Johnson more than words can be put in my vocabulary. I've had people actually write some ugly things to me about Brad. He's CIA. What you got a CIA agent on? I'll tell you what, I got a CIA agent on. He served our country, and he has more knowledge in his pinky than the people that say stuff like that have in their entire brain and their body. But anyway, we won't go down that road tonight. But Jeemes Akers is a good guy. He served this nation well, and he does have a lot of wisdom. And he's approaching 90, and I just appreciate him, and I do, and I know you all do too. I always look forward to getting him on, and usually if we don't have a guest at night, and sometimes our guests have changes at the last minute, he's always been willing to answer the call. If he's home and not out of the country, he's always willing to pick that phone up and spend an hour chatting with us, and I've never had him tell me no, and I appreciate that in him. I really do, and I know you do too. Carol Smith says, I agree with everything. Can't add to it. And I'm with you, Carol. He did such a good job tonight. It's really quite peaceable life in all godliness and reverence. And good to see Cleo out there tonight, my friend. Good to see you. And she's quoting 1 Timothy 2, therefore I exhort, first of all, that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings and all who are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and reverence. And she's adding already, she's got my Bible study queued up for us in the morning, because we're going to be talking about standing before kings with the Word of God. And so that's a good intro, Spirit. Good to see you, dear. Bless you. So good to see you out there tonight. It's morning. It's day in Australia now. Listen, it's 11:53. I had a ton of video. I'll come over here to our. Well, I'm just going to stay here. I'll stay on this screen, because usually when I do the videos, I like to just do them here. I'm going to play a couple of them for you tonight, and we've got Thursday night, and we'll play some more for you then. I always have a ton to play, and I never get to play them. This is Scott Jennings tonight with the CNN crew about Iran and that pallet of cash. There ain't no better commentator on television on CNN than Scott Jennings. He's the only reason. I don't even watch CNN, but I do take their clips when he's on. Roll the tape.
One thing the White House says is everyone has said Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. We're the only ones who did something about it.
Well, no, President Obama did something about it without firing a shot.
What did he do?
He brought them to the table with crippling sanctions. They gave up their nuclear program.
They did not.
The only thing their backs were crippled by carrying the pallets of cash.
Their backs were only crippled by carrying the pallets of cash that Obama gave them. That's a great line. Begala there is a liberal hack, and Caitlin Collins got slapped down by the president today, asked a stupid question about the ballroom. In the midst of the world burning and the Middle East on fire, China, the courts, the economy, everything going on, the only thing Caitlin Collins could figure out to ask Trump today on the lawn before he left for China was, you're claiming that you're double the size of the ballroom, and I don't see that. And Trump literally said, you are a dumb individual. I'd have said a lot worse. But I want to play that back, because Begala is lying that Obama tried to stop the Iranians from getting the bomb with crippling sanctions. And Scott Jennings says the only thing that they were crippled from was carrying pallets of cash that Obama put on the tarmac.
Up their nuclear program. The Ayatollah.
The only thing their backs were crippled by carrying the pallets of cash.
Let me make my
their backs
point
were crippled
before you reflexively refute it.
He let them keep the nuclear material.
Okay.
Go on.
He shut down
Actually,
the
they
nuclear
took a lot of it out.
Yes, and
they just talked to.
They have 970 pounds of enriched uranium, do they not?
But the argument is that's because Trump
11
pulled out
nuclear
of
bombs.
It was enriched to.
And see, they're always arguing about semantics and and by the way, that poll right there, a majority of Americans oppose the Iran war. Fox News, if you ask a bunch of disgruntled people in the grocery store, do you agree what Trump's doing? And this is the thing about polls, and I'll just say this tonight. Probably a majority of the people that they ask a question to like that, they have no idea what's going on in Iran. They couldn't tell you 3 things about that country. Some of them couldn't even tell you where they're at on the map. Some of them couldn't tell you about the Iranian Revolution of '79. They couldn't tell you about the hostages. Probably a lot of those people that took that poll don't even remember the Iranian hostages. I do. I was in high school, and I remember it. It was a humiliating time for this nation. And again, I've looked back on history, and I believe Ronald Reagan made a grave mistake by not doing something to the Iranians then. They should have paid for that 465-day standoff with our hostages. And maybe we wouldn't be here tonight. Maybe we would. I don't know. But that Iranian regime of terror has been fomenting terror. I guarantee you those 55% probably don't even realize that Iran's behind Hamas. They're behind Hezbollah. They're behind the Houthis. And even though they're not directly behind ISIS, they support the very ideology that ISIS has. Syria was more the ISIS flavor. But Syria and Iran are side by side with each other. Syria's not going to do nothing to assist Israel. I can tell you that right now. And now you've got the UAE and the Saudis sort of bickering. The UAE went in and bombed Iran last night, according to reports on Fox News. We're trying to confirm that. And then you've got Pakistan tonight, who supposedly is our ally. They claim they are. And it's being reported tonight that Pakistan's told Iran, bring your planes over here. Don't worry about getting bombed. Just hide everything over here because America ain't going to come over here and bomb us. We're their friend. With friends like that, you don't need enemies. With friends like that, we don't need any enemies. And we got a bunch in this world. The United States does. So when you see polls like that a majority of Americans oppose Iran, the question I would ask is, do these people even know what Iran is and where it is? Because a lot of those people that they poll don't. Now, I'm going to take a little straw poll tonight, and I may be surprised about this, but I'm going to ask you if you agree in principle, and I'm not talking about logistical things, and I'm not talking about, well, I don't agree with the gas prices being up and the grocery price. I'm not talking about logistics. But I'm talking about in general. Do you agree that Trump is confronting the Iranian regime of terror? And if you do, give me a thumbs up. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to make a poll. If you'll give me 1 second, I'll just start a poll. And I'm going to type it in the YouTube channel. With Trump confronting Iran in principle. And again, it's not going to be a question where you've got to say, well, I don't agree with this part of it or I agree with that part of it. But you can chime in, yes or no. It's an easy question. And I'm going to hit yes as my first. I'll be the first to chime in on that. I do. He's not going to please the Trump derangement syndrome folks. And he's not going to please a lot of people on the right. He just ain't. Couple of other things. This was the scene on the Hill today. FBI head Patel was getting hammered by Van Hollen in Maryland, but he was giving it back. I love Cash Patel. I know a lot of people don't, but this is what I voted for.
Occasions when your security detail had difficulty waking or locating you. Is that right?
Nope, it's a total farce. I don't even know where you get this stuff, but it doesn't make it credible because you say so.
I'm not saying it, Director Patel. It's been written and documented.
It's not been written and documented. He's referring to the allegations that Patel was drunk on the job. They always make this personal. They always throw out personal accusations when they have nothing to do. This is the Democrats, and it goes back to what Jeemes was talking about tonight, folks. This is what they do. They assassinate character, and they throw barbs on the Hill like this. But Patel's got to come back. I'm going to play that back. This is the pitiful face of the Democrat Party at its worst.
It doesn't make it credible because you say so.
I'm not saying it, Director Patel. It's been written and documented.
You are literally saying it.
No, I'm saying that these are reports, Director Patel.
No,
and
unlike your baseless
say,
reports, the only person that was slinging margaritas in El Salvador on the taxpayer dollar with a convicted gangbanging rapist was you.
You know,
the only person that ran up a $7,000 bar tab in Washington, D.C. at the lobby bar was you.
This
so the only individual in this room that has been drinking on taxpayer dollars.
Come on, buddy.
Are you polygraphing? You. Director Patel, come on. These are serious allegations.
Serious allegations, Van Hollen. $7,000 bar tab in D.C., drinking with a gangbanger in Venezuela. I think those are pretty serious allegations. So I'm all for far out Patel letting you have it. They need to open an
were
investigation.
made against you. They're in a
allegations
lawsuit
are
that you
false.
filed.
You drinking margaritas with a gangbanger
Actually,
is true and on
it just
video.
goes to show
You
don't-
running a $7,000 bar tab at the lobby bar
Director Patel,
has been filed by your own
this
office.
goes to
drink
show-
during the day. That's
Chair-
you.
Mr.
This is
Chairman-
the ultimate example of hypocrisy.
Chairman-
I will not be tarnished by baseless allegations
let me
and
ask
fraudulent
questions.
statements from the media.
The fact that you mentioned that indicates you don't know what you are talking about.
He does know what he's talking about. That's what they always fall back on. You don't know what you're talking about. You know what I've noticed about these Dems? They sure can dish it out. It's all slanderers can. You know, when they start slandering people and people get that slander spirit on them, they can dish it out. But brother, when you give it back, woo-wee, they run for the hills. Block, 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 block. But they can sure get on their little keyboards and spread all sorts of gossip, lies, rumor, and innuendo, and you confront them, and they run like a bunch of cackling hens. Van Hollen is a great example of that. It's amazing. His face, see his face turn red? I was laughing at his face. His face was literally turning the red as my sweatshirt tonight. My freedom shirt, Charlie Kirk special. No, that's hypocrisy at its best right there. But that's what's going on today. I was proud of Patel. I'm glad he said something about it. We got a lot more to talk about, but this is the story that we're going to follow very closely Thursday night. Brett Barron, I'm going to let you take your comments and let you go. Roll the tape.
Breaking tonight, a Fox News exclusive. We have new information that appears to directly contradict the Biden administration's insistence it had nothing to do with the Justice Department investigations into then former President Trump's alleged retention of classified material and the subsequent raid on his Mar-a-Lago home. Correspondent David Spunt has details tonight. Good evening, David.
Brett, good evening to you. These emails obtained by Fox News paint a different picture of the relationship between the Biden White House and the Biden Justice Department. These two offices made it clear at the time, at least publicly, they were not connected and stayed away from any political interference. However, new emails obtained by Fox News from May 2022, 3 months before Mar-a-Lago was raided by the FBI, illustrates coordination between the White House counsel's office and the DOJ regarding an interview of Walt Nauta. Now, remember, Walt Nauta is a current White House aide to President Trump, who was then former President Trump's aide in Florida. Nauta was later charged alongside Trump by special counsel Jack Smith. The May 10th, 2022 email reads in part, coordination with DOJ and White House counsel are in work to start the process to confirm and interview current administration employee Walt Nauta. This event is dependent upon the timeline of President Biden's brief decision and coordination between White House counsel and DOJ, and in turn, Evan Corcoran's position on the override of privilege assertion and whether or not he seeks an injunction to prevent access. That was written by an FBI agent, and Evan Corcoran, of course, one of Trump's lawyers at the time. This coming August, Brett, will mark 4 years since FBI agents raided Mar-a-Lago. A few days after that, then Attorney General Merrick Garland said this.
I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter. Second, the department does not take such a decision lightly.
And we're getting new reaction to these emails. Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan in the House says in part, it's always worse than we thought. These newly released documents confirm that the Biden DOJ's raid on Mar-a-Lago was politically motivated. We're also hearing from Attorney General Pam Bondi. AG Bondi says the more we learn about the DOJ weaponization under the prior administration, the worse the story gets. And Brett, she says this right here. It's a key part. She says we will continue disclosing key evidence to our congressional partners to deliver the truth and bring those who committed crimes to justice. That coming from the Attorney General tonight, Brett.
And that was back when Bondi was in power. By the way, I'm sort of sick of the blather. Jordan and all of them. Do something about it. Do something about it. But that's why Bondi's out of a job. And if that is true, and I have no reason to believe it's not, there was a lot of people posting that fresh tonight on Fox. So this is a revelation that if and that FBI email was written back in 22. In other words, the FBI was talking to each other saying, hey, we got to wait for the big guy's decision. And the big guy wasn't Merrick Garland as to whether he wants to proceed with this raid. That's coming from Joe Biden. And I wanted to say this tonight before I get to you. It is crazy to me. It's always been crazy to me. I heard people, and I may even said it on my show sometimes, you know, Joe Biden's a little senile and he's not all there. And Cleo mentioned it a while ago. I'm sure there were people controlling him and handling him, and I don't doubt that at all. But isn't it amazing that whenever he says something off the cuff, people all of a sudden fall back on that and say, well, he's just a little getting up there in age and his mind's not working all right. Well, I tell you what, his mind sure does work whole lot. It acts a whole lot normal when he's out there trashing the government and trashing Trump and calling MAGA people garbage and calling us every name in the book and calling Trump a liar and everything else. It's amazing how his mind works. But all of a sudden, when he's confronted about stuff like this, I can't remember. I don't know what I'm doing. It's an act. It's an act. And I know that I've been told by people, well, that's part of this Alzheimer's, and maybe so. But you can't have it both ways. If you're going to fake this and claim that you don't know something when confronted about the accountability of your actions, and then all of a sudden have the clarity of mind to trash the country, trash the president, go along with Obama. Obama does the same thing. It's crazy what Merrick Garland said, that the DOJ is not in the habit of pursuing political enemies, and Obama's been out there screaming about Blanche going after Comey and other officials and the Doge and all the fraud and all that. Well, you can't have it both ways, because Merrick Garland, that's exactly what they did in August of 22. They went after Trump because they knew he was running again. That's hypocrisy. And that's my take on Joe Biden. And again, I pray for the man. I pray for his family. I pray for his soul. But I don't like what he's doing. I still don't like what he did to this country. And it was horrible. It was terrible. And look, folks, we'll never know how much danger we were under for 4 years. I don't think we'll ever understand the depth of danger that this country stayed in for 4 years, other than the grace of God. Other than the grace of God, we didn't have anything more worse happen than we did. And anyway, I'll leave it at that. All righty. I've got more, but I'm going to let you wrap us up tonight. We got about 10 minutes. If you've got a statement or a question, I'll take it right now. CJ, you say, I never understood why we ever gave Iran a pallet of cash. The only thing I can come up with is a Neville Chamberlain type movie. CJ, that's a softball toss. Obama was giving money to his relatives. That's easy. And all Obama did was basically give Iran an open book. And I saw Morgan Freeman out there. I remember that year I was sitting in an Atlanta restaurant the day that went down. I was watching it. And I like to choke on my hamburger when I saw them deliver that money. And then I saw Morgan Freeman that same afternoon produce a PSA, a public service announcement. Iran will not get the bomb. Why are you Republicans upset? They will never get the bomb. They have decided, they've promised us they'll never get the bomb. That's like an arsonist promising you that he won't burn your house down. It's like a thief promising you he won't steal from you. I don't think anybody with the right common sense mind believed that for a second. I sure didn't. And I think Trump didn't, because Trump's going after him, folks. He's making sure they're not going to get the bomb, and he's making them come to the table and promise that and not do it just in words, but in deed. In other words, give it all up. Give all that enriched uranium up. And these idiots on CNN can argue semantics. Begala can claim Obama had them with crippling sanctions. Obama did no such thing. There was never crippling sanctions under Obama. There was nothing but a blank check. We had a feckless Attorney General in Pam Bondi that should have been investigating this stuff. She should have been doing more than just talking to Fox News and issuing public press statements. And I thank God for Todd Blanche tonight, because he's evidently not worried about the press. He's not worried about issuing press statements. He's just doing his job. And that's what I've always wanted in my Attorney General, and yours tonight. I'll amen myself on that one. 92-8 right now is the poll. that we've got. 8% of you don't think this is a good idea to go into Iran. Okay. I'll let you have your opinion on that. And if you're out there tonight in that 8% and you don't agree with it, tell me why. If you'd like to do that, that would be very cool. I'd like to hear your reasoning. I really would. Other than I hate Trump. I hate Trump. That's pretty much why people don't agree with him going into Iran. That is usually the reason why we don't do things and we don't agree with Trump. We hate Trump. We hate Trump. Now it's 12:10. I'm going to give you but 5 more minutes. So talk, speak now, forever hold your peace. Speak now, forever hold your peace. So good to see Cleo in the house tonight. God bless you, friend. Carol Smith says, do you think this will be over before October? Yes, I do. I do. Zella is right below you there on the screen. Cleo says, Iran claimed that they were owed money. They paid the U.S. pre-revolution for military equipment that was never delivered after the Shah fell. Obama settled the claim principal plus interest. That, yeah, he used that as the excuse, and all they did was take that money and basically finance terrorism for 10 years. And the rest is history. I wonder, my personal opinion, what I personally wonder is how much of that money was used to finance October the 7th. Because that was 2015 and October the 7th was hatched 8 years later. And that's one thing about Islam. They'll wait you out. And look, that was such a well-coordinated attack. I would wonder, and if Hamas was behind it, it was as good as Iran being behind it. There was money involved with that attack on Israel on October the 7th. There was a lot of money involved. I wonder how much of that money came from that tarmac. Just a thought. Just a thought. It's now 93-7. 93-7. Couple more minutes. Pat and Deb, I'm going to sort of agree with you about Jim Jordan. I like Jim, but he is one of those that infuriate me more than any of them in Congress because he just don't do nothing. He talks all the time. He comes on Fox, and I'm just tired of the blather. I'm just tired of these Fox News snippets and these news little things, and they release a statement and we don't hear nothing else more about it. Jim Jordan, if he had any gumption, would be leading the call to get Thune out and put somebody in there with Trump's agenda. They only need 5 senators to call for a vote to get a new speaker of the Senate or Senate president. And look, Mike Johnson's not perfect, but to Mike's credit, he's not actively working against President Trump. John Thune is. John Thune is. People like Jordan just sit around and let him do it. Sit around and let him do it. All righty, let me see here. One final thing. Carol, I do believe it will be over with by October. I do. I'm thinking that probably in the next 30 to 45 days, Trump is going to either pull the trigger fully and clean this regime out. And look, we're at regime change at this point. This is no longer a love tap. I heard him say that the other night. We gave Iran a love tap. I could say something that would get myself in so much trouble, but I'm not going to say that. It was not a love tap. No, that was a little warning to Iran that you keep messing around with the United States. We are going to blow you out of the ocean. We're going to blow you out of the Strait of Hormuz. But it was not a love tap. Trump's trying his best to keep us out of more conflict, but I don't know if he can. I would personally think, this is my opinion, I think he's better off to just bite the bullet. It's going to be a 30 to 40 day conflict. You might as well just go ahead and let it all get it done, get that regime out, and start over. There's no easy out here. There's no easy in there. we're in a conflict, and look, it's what got us in trouble in Vietnam. We got into Vietnam, and instead of us fighting the enemy, we started playing politics back in D.C., and it led to the death of so many men. And the morale was so beat down when those men came home, because it wasn't the men that failed us in Vietnam, it was the government. The bureaucrats in D.C. was running the show instead of letting them fight the war. You go over there to fight a war, fight it. Nobody wants war. I don't want war. But in this case, him confronting Iran, I agree with him in principle. I do. And you that are out there, and I'm not upset with you if you disagree and don't believe it's right, at least be courageous and tell me why, though. Tell me why you don't agree with it. I'd like to hear your opinion. And we can discuss it Thursday night. McFilesForum@gmail.com. CJ, I'm with you. I think before the 4th of July, I think that's a good timetable there. I do. I think before the 4th of July, it will be over. All righty, listen, it's 12:15. I got to go. It's midnight. I love you all. I hope you've enjoyed Jeemes Akers tonight. We talked a lot longer than I thought we would. We would have had a lot more video for you, but we got a Thursday night show, a double feature. Magdalene Rose is going to be with me. She's got a friend that she's going to bring with her. Another young whippersnapper, conservative. We don't know who it is yet, but we will tomorrow. She told me you're going to love him. We've loved everybody she sent us. And that kid is on fire. She would have been with us tonight, but it worked out. We had Jeemes, and but we'll have Magdalene on Thursday. And we're going to try to get Brad Johnson. We're going to get Judge Cheryl Lynn Allen next week. We've been working with her on her schedule. And we're trying to get Eric here. Eric's traveling right now, and it's hard for him to take a night off to come be with us. I'd love to talk to him and Brad. Brad Johnson will be back with us soon, and some other things. We got a great weekend of faith coming up this weekend, Sunday, starting Sunday. That whole next week will be a time of rededication services and special services to rededicate the nation. So follow us all next week, and it's almost going to be like a mini revival, to be frank with you. And our next revival is going to be around the July 4th, a summer revival like we had in the spring. And I'm really looking forward and excited about that. Join us tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's Wednesday. We take Wednesday and have a midweek faith recharge. And it's all faith tomorrow in the morning Bible study, 10 o'clock, Lord willing. And then tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, we'll definitely be on with the midweek fellowship and talking about the mystery of iniquity, part 3. And we're going to deal with the forbidding to marry, conscience seared with iron, and not eating meat. 3 things that this spirit promotes, and we're going to talk about what these 3 things mean. It's deep stuff tomorrow night, so please be with us. I got a I'm not going to say that. I'll save that for tomorrow night. I'll save that for tomorrow night. I got to let you go. It's midnight. May the Lord bless you. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. I love you. Thank you for supporting the McFiles, and visit us at themacfiles.org, and do like our video tonight and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed to it. It sure does help the algorithms. I'm thank Cleo for telling you all that out there. She does that and when she's out there, and please remember to do that. It helps us so much, and it's just a second. Click that little like button. It boosts the algorithm to get us seen by the thing. I'm going to end the poll 93% to 7. 93% of you agree in principle, 7% of you don't. So we'll leave it at that. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. We love you all with everything in us. If you like what you're hearing, please think about supporting us financially. You can find the ways to do that at themacfiles.org and Patreon. We have a monthly pledge account, and also Zelle. You can donate through Zelle, chrismac44@gmail.com, and Cash App. Cash.app/$the McFiles. All donations right now are appreciated right now, both on the news and the face side. We're going through a very tough stretch here right now as we get into the summer, and we could sure use your help if you like what you hear on the news show and the face side every night and every week. Have a good night, everybody. Rest well. I'll see you back here in the morning. It's already morning, actually, but we'll see you back here at 10 for the Bible study, and then tomorrow night, be with us for faith. God bless you guys. Good night.